Broad Haven Family Practice, and have been a counselor and a social worker for a really long time. That, you know, like I'm old since 1981, exactly, long before many of you were born. So I have been witness to a lot of healing, both of myself and of other people in my practice and all the amazing people that I've worked with. And in addition to being a therapist, I'm also an artist. I'm not a famous artist. I have always written. I actually have a radio spot on WSTA every Saturday morning under the name of Coach Paradise. And I have the same radio spot on NPR on WTJX on Saturday afternoon. So I'm a writer and I am a musician. You can see in the back of my house, my piano is sitting there and I have puppets hanging around. I'm a puppeteer. And I like to draw. A bunch of the paintings on my walls are my paintings. So I can personally testify to the power, the healing power of art. And I imagine, or I would hope, that some of you either used to do something like play an instrument, maybe you sing, maybe you love to dance. And I don't mean as a famous performer or somebody who's dedicated your life to one of these art forms, but just as a part of being alive. Let me start with actually just kind of reading quickly a part of a radio spot I did a number of years ago about healing. The dictionary defines healing as to restore to health or soundness, to set right, to restore a person to spiritual wholeness. Healing comes in all shapes and sizes, seen and unseen. And contrary to what we're often told by doctors, therapists, gurus, ministers, and healers of all sorts, no one has a monopoly on healing or on making what feels broken or restoring health of mind, body, or spirit. There's room for a smorgasbord of approaches: sound healing, chakra healing, talk therapy, hands-on healing, massage, jinjitsu, energy work, yoga, herbs, aromatherapy, Bach flower remedies, Western medicine, Eastern medicine, laughter therapy, and hugs. There's so much available to us in the outside world and inside that can help us feel better and remind us that our natural state is 100% wholeness or health. Every person, place, or thing we encounter has the capacity to be a touchstone or a healing amulet, a magic potion. We run into people that we love and they give us a hug and we feel better. That's healing. We run into somebody ourselves and say, wow, you look beautiful. And we see them stand up a little bit taller. That's healing. We go to the beach and float in the sea and just feel our tensions being taken over by the ocean. That's healing. I have a little dog who's sleeping on the couch right next to where I'm sitting. I pet my dog and I feel, I sigh and I feel better. Some of my tension. My dog is a healer to me. So I'm sure as we go through all of your lives, we all have moments, people, food. Food is a great healer. Music, we put on a song and we dance and it raises our vibrations. We feel better. Poetry, writing. Some of you may keep a journal, which I highly recommend. Not for anybody to look at and not to consider a work of art a work of art, but a work of art for you, for your heart. It's really helpful to have ways to express yourself that aren't necessarily in our traditional verbal ways, like writing a paper with a, with a heading sentence and supporting arguments. And a lot of the stuff that you do in school is wonderful. And a lot of it uses the left side of our brain, which is the part of our brain responsible for language and problem solving, which is certainly tremendously helpful in our world. But the right side of the brain is my favorite side of the brain, which is the side of the brain that's artistic, creative, where our imagination resides, and our spiritual life, our connection to the divine or one love, source energy. And it's the part of our brain that's the least watered in our current world. We're so much into computers and speed language and numbers, and that we forget to be able to be present. We often are not here, is what I'm trying to say. Our minds are often on what's for dinner, or what's going to happen tomorrow, or what's going to become of me, especially now in this really difficult, challenging time of the pandemic, when there's so much anxiety swirling around, not just our own island, but the whole world, which is caught up in panic and worry and very difficult times for many, many of us. Financially, emotionally, being stuck at home, lockdowns. Will I ever be able to travel again? Will I ever get my job back? There is so much that is just the stuff that anxiety, like Pac-Man. I think of anxiety as a little Pac-Man waiting for stuff to eat up and grasp onto. So there's nothing like cultivating practices which enable us to be here now. And art, when we're singing a song, we're usually not thinking about what's for dinner or what's going to happen to us. We're singing our song. We're opening our voice and we're letting energy out. When we put on a song and we're dancing, whatever it is, soca, or a waltz or kelbe, or just our own creative movement. We're not thinking about all that stuff. We're not thinking about what we're worried about. We're in it. So the more things that we can cultivate to do that force us to be fully present to this moment, the healthier we are. It's truly healing. It gives our spirit, our mind, our body a break. I mean, any of you who've studied psychology know about the fight or flight syndrome. We have a part of our brain called the amygdala, the wired for survival. So when we're threatened and when we're afraid, they always use we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, which I think is extinct, but the equivalent, a mugger, put it that way. When we're being chased, suddenly our heart starts beating faster, our breathing speeds up, and our body is flooded with cortisol, hormones like being on steroids, like an athlete, that would enable us to run faster than we have ever run before, or enable me, and I'm pretty tiny, to lift a car off a loved one. So it's a really valuable part of our brain. The only problem is we often exist in that state of mind when nothing's going on except a thought. We think a thought that is upsetting or scary, and our body goes into exactly the same heart rate, breathing, cortisol, and we live in that state. I know people who've gone back to work who tell me that they're so afraid about being at work that they don't eat or go to the bathroom all day long because they don't feel comfortable. They're afraid of COVID. They're afraid of germs, of touching their faces. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not judging that person, but to live in that state all the time is extremely stressful for our hearts, our lungs, our adrenal glands. So whatever we can do to return to the present moment and playfulness, art is a wonderful entree, a wonderful way to do that. There are programs. I was kind of reading about University of California in San Francisco has a program called the Art for Recovery, where they work with all kinds of people and especially cancer patients, and just give them a box of crayons, art supplies, and just allow them to draw and to express what they're feeling, not in words, but in images and colors and shapes. Poetry is a beautiful way to just let words pour out of you without necessarily making, quote, sense. Just a way to release what's inside of you outside. It's often a way to find out what is going on inside of you. I'm a writer, and one of the gifts of the pandemic for me is that I've had, time kind of stuck in my house, which could be a lot worse than it is. And I've joined some writing groups. And it's really interesting to me to see what I write. There'll be a prompt and people will start writing, and I'm always surprised at what comes out of me. So I learn about myself. Being creative is a beautiful way of putting ourselves out in a different form so we can look at ourselves and go, wow, that's what's in me. Beauty and fear and the whole gamut, the whole range of emotions is crying out to be expressed and seen, and whether it's heard by other people or not. Often it's wonderful when we're able to share what's in our hearts, because other people go, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on for me. I couldn't have said it better myself. When we're able to express what's in us, it gives other people permission to do the same thing. And there's nothing like feeling heard and understood, and that we're not alone. And art is a beautiful way to do that. I don't know how many of you have ever attended Amy Gibbs at the Art Explorium out in Tillett Gardens. And I know Amy has done some workshops, I think at UVI and with groups of people. It's a beautiful opportunity. She does it every Wednesday evening, to go and be with people and just make something, create something. No talent, no experience required, just playfulness and art materials. I don't know if you remember when you were in kindergarten or first grade, and you just sat with crayons and paper and drew purple trees and stick figures and just had fun. That's what I'm encouraging. And I certainly in my work with people that I have any kids that I see, I automatically pull out the crayons. And while we're talking, they're drawing. And their drawing frees them up to talk and makes them feel more comfortable. I'll sometimes do sketches of people, or I'll have them do a sketch of me, which if we were in a room together, I might say, do that now. Pick out a piece of paper. Zoom is an amazing way to do a self-portrait because you're looking at yourself. If you have your camera on, you're a captive audience. There's something really, I could draw you. You could draw you. And again, it's not, we got so turned off, so many of us, and maybe when we reached second, third grade and somebody said, well, that doesn't look like a horse, or that doesn't look like trees don't have purple trunks. And we kind of shut down and decided that we couldn't draw. And we stopped. We kind of shut down that part of ourselves. Or if we played music or started to sing and somebody said, ooh, you have a terrible voice, or you can't hold a tune, and we shut our voices down. And I think that's happened to many, many people in all of those areas. Dancing. We think certain people are the best dancers and we look weird, so we stop dancing. So we cheat ourselves out of all of these amazing outlets for expressing ourselves. And what's that? It's like dance like no one's watching. Nobody has to be watching. You could, something I'll tell my clients, pick a song. For a while, it was Pharrell Williams' Happy for me. It's kind of moved on, but pick a song and put it on in the morning and just dance around, leap around your house, shake it up, and or at the end of the day, when you think you're tired and you've been sitting all day, let it out, move your body. Some of you may be athletes and runners and exercise. That's a great thing too. That helps you to be present and in your body rather than in your mind. And it's our minds that usually get us into trouble. It's our thoughts that lead us astray. And people tell us not to believe everything we read, but nobody bothers to tell us don't believe everything you think. Many of our thoughts are not true. Certainly the negative ones. You're an idiot. Like, you'll never amount to anything. Why bother? There are people who do that better than you. All of the negative self-talk that we inherited from our, who knows, our families, our teachers, our society. Girls can't do this. You know, you're too short. You're too old. You're too young. Whatever it is, all of these constraints kind of stop us from being the fully imaginative people that we are, that we're meant to be, and from sharing our gifts and expressing ourselves. Look at a room full of kids. If you have kids of your own, or nieces, nephews, kids in your life, watch kids play. They just play. They just make it up. I'll be the mommy, you be the daddy. Let's play house. Or I'm a princess. We're going on a spaceship. Let's ride on a magic carpet. There's no expiry date on that. It doesn't necessarily end when you turn, I don't know, any age, even though a lot of us are told, grow up, stop playing around. There's a time and a place for sure for everything, but I think many of us have put all of those, quote, childish things aside, much to our lack, much to our detriment. And if I feel anything really strongly, it's that art will save the world. If we can learn how to share our passions and have fun, sing, dance, draw, write, the world is a better place. You know, I'll show you my one puppet because I think my new puppet. This is Johnny Mango, and he plays the piano, and he's happy to be here. So he's part of my art, and I've done performances with him. He's going to be a guest performer with a friend of mine who's a piano player. He has his own little piano, and he is happy to be here. So it's about having fun and expressing joy and also expressing anguish. We have lots of feelings. You know, we're sad and we mourn and we grieve, and we need to find ways to express that. I'm looking at the time, and just in honor of poetry, I'd like to share a poem that by a poet who some of you may have heard of, whose name is Mary Oliver, who is beautiful. I suggest if you're interested, look up. She has many, many beautiful poems. But this is a favorite of mine, and it's called Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body loves what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. I love that. I love the world offers itself to your imagination, because there's nobody like you. Like, your fingerprint is unique. Whatever you create is unique, is your fingerprint. Nobody can say what you have to say. And it's all divine, and it's all beautiful, and it's all worth expressing. So that's my message, and, short and sweet, is to make art, draw, write, play music. Don't limit your healing to going to the doctor. Give somebody a hug when in your pod, when we're allowed to hug again, but yeah, trust your own creative abilities. You're all artists, healers. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you so much, Miss Near. At the beginning of your presentation, you were listing a few things that we do as humans to just relax and to let go. And I just wanted you to know that my type of relaxation is listening to poetry. So while you were reading that poem, it really took me to a place of relaxation. So therefore, I want to say thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I want to say thank you to each and everyone that is logged on right now listening to this presentation. And I do hope each and every single thing that was said by Ms. Near at this moment would be taken into so much consideration and would be applied to our daily lives. Thank you once again to each and every one of you.
Well, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for your gracious intro and finale. And I hope you write poetry too.
Yes. Do.
Yes.
All righty. So
okay. Thank you. Have a wonderful.
Yes.
Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you to each and every one of you.